Get your first and last name and spell them both
So he's tearful, but do you ever actually see him cry?
out for me.
But here, you see him look down over here. And this is what he displays all the way through it. And it's just one of his major signals. It's shame. He looks down in shame. Sometimes he maintains eye contact with the person questioning him because he knows that's what people do when they appear truthful, apparently. But mainly, he looks down in shame.
Stearns, Stephan, Sterns.
Alright, so Stephan.
Baseline, of course, him giving his name, so he shouldn't necessarily feel shamed by that. He's got the watery, crying eyes, but you don't see him actually crying in this.
You seem very emotional right now. Explain to us.
Shaking his head, deep breath in, down and away, shame.
I dropped her off. Everything looked fine when I dropped.
I dropped her off immediately. Just the first thing he says is a defection away from him. Like, tell us what happened. He starts immediately with, I dropped her off.
Away.
Shaking his head, of course.
It's the last time we saw her.
And that's the last time we saw her. So that's a distancing from I saw her.
The conversation that y'all had in the car when you dropped her off.
Not much. She was asleep for most of the way.
Again, he'll look at him when he asks the question, but when he answers it, he'll look down in shame.
Told her have a good day at school when she got out, and I love her.
He's stopped moving around as much now. He's shaking his head a little bit, which means that what I'm seeing is sometimes when people talk and they're natural, their body language will move and sing with them. This feels a little bit more stilted, feels a little bit more shut down and locked in. So shame and possibly deception.
Said thanks, love you too. That was it.
A lot of shaking of the head, which I don't like.
And so,
And he's forcing his brow into this sort of, and you can't see everything because he's got the hat hood on, but he's forcing his brow into a sort of concerned expression, forced concern, and tearful eyes that don't produce tears.
where do you think she could possibly be?
Where do you think she could possibly be? We get a half shoulder shrug
I mean, this isn't, as I was told, this isn't normal
and a deep breath in of anxiety.
behavior.
This is not normal behavior. She's not the type that would just run off.
And he doesn't even answer the question. This is not normal behaviour. She's not the type that would run off. And again, we move back over here to looking away in shame. I don't like it because it's not that it's a bad lie. It's that he doesn't even answer the question.
We don't know where she can be.
We don't know where she could be. I mean, I understand the concept is, where do you think she could be? Well, she doesn't normally run off, so where could she be? But
We're scared.
we're scared, are we? Scared.
We just want her home.
Are you, in a sense,
See, you nodded along to we just want her home. So you'd say that's all good then, isn't it? But that's one little reasonable piece of body language in amongst a slew of not very good looks.
blaming yourself?
It's hard not to.
Why?
Sorry, what was the
Blaming
question?
yourself?
Are you blaming yourself? And then, so that gets a almost emotional breakdown response there. Of course, again, he still doesn't really cry, and it's hard not to. Why? You're not responsible, are you? Well, your body language and the things you say, your statement analysis, your embedded confession sounds like you are. It's hard not to. That anxiety that rushes through him as well. It's the idea that it's talking about the self, about you. Are you blaming yourself? Like, are you guilty? Causes a rush of anxiety, I feel. And it's his own self-preservation that he's most worried about. He's ashamed of what he's done. The crying eyes that don't shed any tears for the missing girl, in my opinion, it's self-worried, self-crying, self-pity.
It's hard not to.
Why?
I dropped her off early.
I dropped her off.
I could have waited longer.
So I shouldn't laugh. It's really tragic. Poor Jennifer. Poor Madeline Soto. Rest in peace.
She looked okay. She was walking towards the school when I saw
She looked okay.
her. It was like any other day, so I went on with my day.
You see, again, he went on with his day, and he looks up to confirm that that's true, honest. I'll look you in the eye when I say it. But then he drops his head down again, and I just, like I said, I think it radiates shame.
It's hard not to blame myself.
It's hard not to blame myself.
What is the conversation
Because that's the noble thing to do, or possibly because you're guilty.
been with Jen since?
We get an interesting piece of body language as well, which
Myself.
What is the
he gives it the sort of, noble.
conversation been
And then the mouth comes open,
with Jen since?
but we don't get a tongue protrusion here. So again, I'm not seeing like the confidence of a sort of seasoned aggressive killer or anything. I'm seeing shame. And the mouth opening, I believe, I think it's a high anxiety. I mean, it's a stressful situation. You're doing this interview or whatever, but I think it's a high anxiety, like not just satisfied with the breath through the nose and a steady breath. The mouth has fallen open to just increase that oxygen level. Flight or flight response, oxygen will rush to the organs. The questions have not been directly hard pointed at him, but he knows at this stage in it that people are going to look at him, and he knows that the questions like, do you blame yourself? Do you feel guilty? Could you, these sort of things, they're basically drawing attention, guilt, towards him. And whilst they're not direct and overt, I think he's feeling that threat of being discovered, questioned on this level, and he's feeling that fight flight response. So he seems quite drained in his face, and I think he's gasping for oxygen here, really.
She's been a lot stronger than me.
A lot stronger than me. So now we're talking about elements of strength. Who's stronger than whom?
She's been holding it together really well, but it just keeps coming in waves. Just the reality keeps hitting.
The reality keeps hitting. But in a situation where someone's missing, the reality is that they are missing, and you live in all sorts of spaces of like, could this and could that. But instead, the reality is more certain for him.
We don't know where she is. We don't know if she's safe.
All the time looking down in shame. We don't know if she's safe. Got a big and a wipe of the eye. But again, I'm not seeing any real tears.
We're just scared.
We're scared.
Home.
Have you, literally put boots on the ground, went out?
Yeah, I even went out with the cops where I had dropped her off, and we looked all up and down the road, all along the communities, and there was nothing helpful. None of the cameras were pointing the street.
Interesting, he knows about where the cameras are pointing. He references, I went out with the cops. Again, all down to the ground, and it gives some sense, he thinks, or in the way he's delivering it, I went out with the cops. So, if I'm with the cops and I've gone out with the cops, then obviously it's it gives him a sense, or it gives us a sense from him. He's trying to give us a sense that he is innocent because he's been with the cops, he's gone out, he's driven around. So, let's stop talking about me and whether I've done it here.
Nothing, which in 2024 was surprising. The church across the street.
Surprising, gets a little laugh.
2024 was surprising. Street. Nothing, which in
He's talking about the cameras.
2024 was surprising.
It's surprising. You'd think that if there were no cameras catching any details, in 2024 it's frustrating, because out of all the different kinds of evidence there could be, that would be a really good lead and we might find her. Remember, at this stage they hadn't found her body, but for him it's surprising. So that's incompatible in my mind with what he should be necessarily feeling, or what I would think I would feel at the time. Rather than frustration at there not being a lack of camera evidence, he's pleasantly or comedically surprised by it, and he seemed to have quite a good knowledge of it.
Church across the street had some cameras, and they mentioned seeing her waiting around in the parking lot for a while before moving on, and that was it. But it was grainy footage, and not much else.
Does it seem like she walked west, east?
They said in the direction of the school. I'm not sure what that is.
See, now we're giving these facts, see how his tears have dried up and he's not so emotional and upset anymore. And it's not that long, just a few seconds since he was really quite, give me the tissue, upset. So I'm not seeing the real true depth of feeling that made me worry when I looked at that. I thought, hello.
What was
I mean, it's easy for me to say this now with hindsight, isn't it, now they've arrested him, but that's why I didn't want to do this as a body language react initially at the time, because I just looked at it and thought, well, this is really bad. He looks pretty guilty here. I think we could even put it up next to the Chris Watts interview and compare and contrast some particulars, because...
Language, not language verbally, language, body language, when you drive the road.
When he mentions body language, he immediately turns his head away because he's suddenly worried about the idea that this particular interview will be analysed for body language, as I'm doing now.
Did she seem happy? Was she like, I'm going to meet my friends?
Happy. She had a happy weekend. She just turned 13.
She was happy.
She had a 13th
Present, past tense.
birthday party.
But we are asking about, the other day, was she happy? But he said she was happy, past tense.
She was happy that we were all together here, and she's just very happy. She was a happy kid.
She was a happy kid. There we go. That's awful. Because I thought, are we catching someone here? No, he's been prompted with, was she happy? Yeah, she was happy, but she was happy on that day because she's a very happy kid, but we're already talking about her in the past tense. Big screaming red flag, that one. It was sort of prompted, wasn't it? But it still moved on to the general sense of her being past tense, so that's really bad.
13, she had a 13th birthday party. She was happy that we were all together here, and she's just very happy. She was a happy kid. She's very sweet. She's a very sweet girl. She brings a lot of joy to us, and
He corrected himself. So he knew what he said and why it was bad. Why isn't he begging for the camera to her return? A lot of them do this, don't they? We'd hope that the first thing they'd say is, if you're out there and you can hear this, we love you, we're trying to get you home, please come home. If there's ever been a problem, we can work it out. I don't know what it is that's happened, but you can come home. There's never going to be a problem. If someone's got you and you can hear this, we're working to help. We're going to get you out of there. Do anything you can to escape. You'd think, that the appeal to camera would be an opportunity for them in their hope and desire to find their loved one to actually directly appeal to the loved one. Often I'm surprised, but a lot of them do it, don't they? And a lot of them end up being guilty. So, and also I did skip if we didn't watch the mother's appeal, which I think that's going to be worth detailed body language breakdown as well. But I don't really feel my heart's emotion in doing it because it's such a sad, tragic thing, and it's quite a long bit of footage, and there's a second one of her as well. So we will do it. We will do it. Maybe I'll do it on a live tomorrow on Super Chuffer, but this just came up on stream now, didn't it? As a little bit of conversation. I told you it was an easy read, and there is shame. There is shame writ large. Inability to hold an eye contact, dropping down and away. The voice as well. It's quiet and not. The context of what he says is moving away from confrontation. The direct, do you feel guilty, this sort and that. Maybe a more innocent person might have even taken offence at that. You're trying to say, I did it. I'm desperately trying to find her here, and you're saying, do I feel guilty about it? I'm not guilty. I loved her. I'm doing it past tense now. Obviously, I know she's dead. But so there's lots of different little tells. But the main one for me was the... it's almost like the classic, if you were to write out a sort of checklist of body language for shame: slumped shoulders, defeated attitude, eyes down. Sometimes the sentences will start reasonably strong but then peter out and get quieter.
just not knowing.
And this breathing, which is tension, which is stress, but also anxiety.
So the unknown is killing you.
Yeah, it's like our whole world is upside down. And not feeling her presence here is... I'm sorry.
And also the fake crying.
It's hard.
Oh no, you're fine. You need to apologize. What do you want our viewers to know when they see this?
She's a sweetheart. She's a very sweet, kind girl.
And he's reiterated that because he realises he said it wrong earlier, so now he's trying to reinforce the correction.
Just please be nice to her. Bring her home if you find her. Tell her that we love her. Wherever she is, I hope she's okay.
I mean, if someone were to come in contact with her and you gave me her diagnoses, would it be easy to approach her without any like agitation or anything?
Yeah, she's a good kid. She's a good kid.
At this point, he just wants this interview to be over now. He's got very quiet, very in his shell. He's actually repeated this last phrase twice and looked the guy in the eye as if to say, punctuation mark here, huh? Yeah, she's a good kid. She's a good kid. Are we done here? You know, I've got nothing. He's not furthering. And before he was talking a bit, this answer's very short and just... It feels like a bookend almost. Like he's asking...
Good luck with your channel, son.
Thank you very much. It's ABC for the 5 months subscription there. Thanks. With the totally inappropriate picture of me for this body language read. Thanks to the Twitch subscriber system. Big ups, it's ABC. I will just chuck this one up on Super Chuffer probably just tonight, and it'll go live Monday morning, probably tomorrow now. Right. So big ups if you're watching this on Super Chuffer. This man, obviously they've arrested him now, but I don't know why they took so long.
If you can sum up in one complete sentence: waking up, getting ready to drop her off at school, dropping her off at school.
See how he's maintaining eye contact for this part.
To now speaking to me after talking.
And when he mentions dropping her off at school, we get this mouth open again for a moment.
Getting ready to drop her off at school.
Getting ready to drop her off at school, the mouth comes open.
She's a good kid.
Let me see this.
She's a good kid.
If you can sum up in one complete sentence: waking up, getting ready to drop her off at school, dropping her off at school, to now speaking to me after talking to the police about
So I'd say something happened when they were getting ready.
her being missing for over 24 hours right now. In one complete sentence, what would that be?
A living nightmare.
Again, very short. You know, we're summing up. We come to the end of the interview, and he doesn't really want to do a lot more talking, so he's gone for a very short
Living nightmare.
nightmare. It's interesting as well. It's what, like, you know, people don't just vanish into thin air. It's a living nightmare, or in Paul Ansell's case, a dream. Similar language amongst many of these people, isn't there?
They started off like any other.
The day started off like any other, and obviously it's gone wrong in some way.
You know, I just want to wake up.
More self-reflection. I just want to wake up. More, you know, pity for oneself. When the real sadness comes into him, it's actually pity for himself.
Just get hit with waves of the reality.
Waves of the reality again. But in this situation, the reality is uncertain, and you should have hope or fear, but the reality is uncertain. But for him, it seems more certain, and it feels like it's closing in around him, doesn't it? Waves of the reality. And the pity, the shame of not even looking up and at the interviewer.
Setting in. As soon as it got dark last night, we started falling apart, because
We again.
we knew it wasn't going to come to an end.
We again. So I'm wondering if I haven't done the body language on the mother yet, but I'm wondering if she is complicit, or if he is like talking for her insofar as he might be controlling and putting ideas into her head. And, you know, we think this, don't we? And we think that, don't we? Or he might be distancing himself from the brutality of the actions by passing some of the blame to her. We think this, we think that, we're a team, therefore anything that's bad that you're going to find out, you know, we, not just me. So it might be passing the buck in a way.
And now we're going on 24 hours and still nothing. Just conflicting reports here and there. People say they see this or that. None of it's conclusive, and none of it's helpful. We just want our baby girl back.
Tom, any questions?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
Just because you hold it there for me.
So that, in my opinion, was the face of shame and deception. I mean, there were very few pointed, direct, solid questions that he needed to lie specifically about, but he talked around the subject. He gave a clear identifier that he thought about her in the past tense, corrected it quickly. The correction in itself is a bit of a red flag, because it seems that he's thinking about carefully how he's going to say these words and what they come out like, whether they're going to be analysed later on shows like the one I'm doing now. And the shame is the big red flag to me. The shame, the shame, the shame. So, yeah, get him arrested, which they have done. Get him, you know, get the police work done. I will quickly just do Chris Watts interview. I can't remember now off the top of my head, but did Chris Watts look down a lot in shame?
Chris Watts, WATTS.
Wow.
I mean, she wasn't here. The kids weren't here. Nope, nobody was here.
What's your wife's name?
Shanann.
Like, he's doing the shuffling, isn't he, Chris Watts? But he's more solidly looking into
If
the
they're
eye.
not safe. Last night,
There was a down and away.
I had every light in the house on. I was hoping that I would just ran over by the kids
Looks down again there, but like there's not the
early
same
that morning, like 5:15, 5:30. So like
with Chris Watts. There's not the same level of shame.
What is law enforcement? What have the police or the sheriffs or your neighbors? Is it?
It's much more aggressive, self-defensive. Chris Watts is. Yeah. Anyway, you be good on YouTube. This will be on Super Chuffer. I might be on live doing analysis of the mother. You never know. So be good. Check that out. What did I say in there? Check out. Real solid performance from me. I'll clip that and put it up there. Big ups, Jessica Hot Jams. You're wondering if the video you made a while back that showed Peter Folding dressed in police uniform at a protest. Yeah, the video exists. Of course it wasn't taken down, no. Yeah, the video exists. It's my main best video on Super Chuffer. Yeah. Wouldn't be taken down, no. There'd be no reason to think Nicola Buddy case solved. It's there, look. There'd be no reason for it to be taken down. Yeah. The source material still exists as well. Check Stuart Hazel as well tomorrow, perhaps. We did Stuart. That's the one. Sorry, yeah. Doing Chris Watts. I mean, Stuart Hazel was the one. Yeah, sorry. I'll quickly run this now because we've got a video about Stuart Hazel on Super Chuffer already. We did him in an episode of Thus about people like this, and we talked about
nothing we can think of, absolutely nothing.
So Tia stays here Thursday night.
Around about half 10, 11, something like that maybe. Because I know she was on about going up to Croydon.
We get a lot of confusion.
Enough
He
out,
tries to sell confusion, but he does, doesn't he? Like, while he's talking, he won't. It's not that he won't look in the eye of the interviewer. He knows that he has to do that to appear honest, so he does do that. But he moves between that and looking down in shame.
Started doing a bit of washing up in the kitchen.
And we also have that slouched shoulders and the sort of quiet manner.
And she was in there. She was telling me what she was doing, but I weren't really logging it into my head.
You know, these people that do this, they're not always quiet, meek people, but they want to come across like that in these interviews, don't they?
And, do you know what I mean? Remember, like, the kids, they talk to you, it goes in one ear, stays there for a second, it goes out, you know what I mean? As I was
So that, as you can see, there's Mark Williams Thomas back in the day. You can see the same sort of thing, can't you, that I'm saying? This looking down and away, this sort of like shame. So yeah, and on Super Chuffer, if you search for attic, I think, no, upstairs. Yeah, he hid her upstairs and then went on the news. That's my video cut from Thus, or you can go on the podcast and see the episode we did about killers who made public appeals, or murder, or criminals, was it? Criminals who make public appeals. It's on one of these episodes, isn't it? It's quite a good episode of Thus, yeah. So I'll leave that all on the YouTube cut. You be good, and if you can't be good, you're YouTube.